Well, tropical weather is brewing in the Atlantic this weekend. One tropical depression is far from shore at this point, but another storm may be forming off the coast of Florida, and it could bring a lot of rain to the state. CBS News contributing meteorologist Jeff Baradelli joins us now. So, Jeff, what can you tell us about this tropical depression forming?
Right. So it's been really quiet, eerily quiet for the past couple of weeks. Not much has really happened, but all of a sudden we have the prospect of two tropical storms. Right now, we just have one tropical depression and one that's in the formative stages. So the first storm is Tropical Depression 5. It's formed about 1,000 miles to the east of the Lesser Antilles. It's not the one off Florida. It's the one way out there. You can see it right there. We'll zoom into it. It's weak. Winds are around 35 miles an hour. It's moving to the west at about 10 miles an hour. However, it's a compact storm, and sometimes these compact storms can actually start to develop and intensify. We expect that it's possible it could move into the Caribbean and become perhaps even a low-end hurricane as we head towards the Wednesday timeframe. You can see as it moves towards around the Puerto Rico area, we'll have to watch it very closely as it heads towards the Greater Antilles. It's a chance that could become a hurricane. But either way, it's going to bring, obviously, gusty winds and heavy rain to the Caribbean area.
And what about that storm forming off the coast of Florida?
Right, so that's the storm right there. Notice that the actual center of low pressure is still literally on the coast. Once that emerges back over the water, it'll start to be able to take advantage of the really warm waters, which are located just off the coast in the Gulf Stream. And so it's likely at that point to become a tropical depression, then maybe a tropical storm, and then perhaps even a hurricane, maybe, let's say, 3 days from now. However, it's moving northeast out to sea. It's getting kicked out to the east. So we do not think it's going to impact anyone directly, with the exception of Florida, who's getting some heavy downpours right now. But it's not yet a strong storm, so it's not a big deal. And believe me, this is nothing more. What they're seeing in Florida with those storms is actually probably less than what they would typically see during a typical summer afternoon with the thunderstorm. So it's actually not a big deal for them right now. Could be an isolated tornado, but then again, there's always isolated tornadoes in South Florida. The one big impact it's going to have is produce some very rough surf along the eastern seaboard as the system heads to the northeast. You can see it gets better formed as we head towards Monday, and eventually it could become either a strong tropical storm or a hurricane. It stays far offshore. Maybe some outer rain bands towards Wilmington, North Carolina, Hatteras, and also large waves, rough surf. We expect the seas to probably grow to around 20 feet way offshore. And that does pose a problem.
I want to ask you, there's a teen climate change activist, Greta Thunberg, who's making her way by boat. She's going to cross through the Atlantic. Is she going to be impacted by any of this?
Right. So first of all, there's two systems. So there's one that's going to form right near her boat later tomorrow and Monday. That's a different storm. It's not this. Then there's a little break, and then this storm comes up behind it as either a tropical storm or a hurricane. I did the calculations, and it's really hard to tell because the sailboat that she's in is not moving in a direct path. It zigs and it zags. But doing the math on a direct path, she gets into New York sometime on Wednesday. I don't know for sure when she's going to be getting in. It looks like she will beat this tropical storm or a hurricane, probably, but it's something that we need to watch very closely.
Fascinating. And also, you were telling me earlier, parts of the South will experience great rain. What are we hearing about that? Yeah, so, we're talking about this tropical system a lot. But actually, some of the worst weather is across the deep southeast and actually Louisiana coast. So there's a lot of tropical moisture kind of gathering all over the southeast. All that humid air that was here in New York a couple of days ago has been suppressed down to the south. And I circled a couple of areas, one of them near Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's a lot of tropical moisture. Some places are going to see some localized flooding there. We'll probably end up seeing as much as 5 to maybe some places picking up 10 inches in isolated areas. And then severe weather is possible in Wichita down to around Oklahoma City. There's a couple of complexes of storms moving through there. But you can see that the storms are even more intense in all parts of the southeast than they are in South Florida. Because if you look at how much rain's going to fall in South Florida, 1, 2, maybe an isolated area up to 3, 4 inches of rain. That's nothing for Florida. They get that on a typical day. But look at the rest of the southeast. And what you can't see is under the banner. Now you can see it. Is just south of Lake Charles. Some of those areas picking up close to 8 inches of rain. So that's what we're concerned about, is just areas, pockets of heavy rain and localized flooding in the southeast and Plain States. You and I were talking at the beginning of the summer. You were saying these are the next few weeks to watch when it comes to hurricanes.
Right. Yeah, peak season is September 10th-ish. And right now is typically when we see things start to ramp up. And sure enough, on cue, things are starting to get active. We're going to have to watch very closely over the next couple of weeks.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much for joining us.